Dylan Mingo, Tar Heel.
This is Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, the number one sports podcast network out there. Thanks so much for making us your first listener watch to get this Tuesday going in the right way with some great news. Special shout out to our everydayers, our Locked On Tar Heels Discord members, and of course our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by Mazda, who puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Hey, coming up, we've got great news on Tuesday morning. Don't know how things are going to go tonight, but we know that today Dylan Mingo is a Tar Heel. So we're going to unpack that, what it means, how it happened, blah, 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 how he fits with next year's potential lineup, which is harder than ever to figure out and understand because, hello, transfer portal era. It's great to see you. Let's dive right into it. Dylan Mingo is and has continued to be, from the beginning of the ranking of this class, the number one point guard in it. He's massive. He's big. He's a New York guy. He's got that grit, that energy, all this great stuff that you want in a point guard, including, oh, by the way, he's 6'5". Baby, give me more of that all the time. So Mingo chooses Carolina this morning on First Take with Stephen A. Smith over Penn State, Baylor, and Washington. Up against that group in a vacuum, you would think like, okay, sure, Carolina's going to win that. But as a reminder, Carolina wasn't always the leader in this thing. Right out of the gate, I really thought it was Baylor was the leader. Carolina had looked at Rippey, and another one of the top point guards in the class, just below Mingo, in my opinion, and most of the recruiting sites' opinions. And so there was a lot of thought like, shoot, Carolina missed on Rippey. They had him in, and now he's going to Duke. What's going to happen? But Carolina just went full court press on Mingo and is able to get it done. Initially, I thought it was going to be Baylor. He was teammates with VJ Edgecombe, who, was at Baylor and just was phenomenal. And, recently Edgecombe was like tweeting at him like, hey, well, you coming to Baylor or what? Like there's all that back and forth. So I thought Baylor for a while. There was a period where Penn State was a very real landing spot or possibility. Why? Well, if you're unaware, his brother, Dylan's brother, Kaden, is a freshman this year at Penn State, where, by the way, he's having a great year. We'll talk about that more in a second. And so there was all of that. And it's like, man, I could legitimately see him going to either of those places. Thankfully for Carolina, like one of the big pieces of news that Mingo talked about wanting was a place where he could win and win at a high level. Baylor has been that recently, but they're not that right now. But this Baylor team is struggling. Washington is Washington. It is what it is. And Penn State is just not a great team. Obviously, again, because his brother's there and things are going well, it's like well for Kaden, not well as a team. That was a very realistic possibility. And when the thing was, I want to win, I was like, well, he's coming to Carolina. The one thing that did give me pause is Arkansas came in late, and you know how Coach Cal is with recruiting, right? I was like, oh man, this could be bad. Arkansas could swoop in last minute and grab Dylan, but thankfully kind of too little too late with Arkansas. We see that sometimes in recruiting. And because of that, Dylan Mingo is a Tar Heel. So we will be very pleased with that. And here's the thing. While I would have loved to have had Rippey that committed to Duke, I think Dylan Mingo is the better of the two. He's more highly rated at all the recruiting sites, is the number one point guard in this class. And that's really, really encouraging. Something a lot of people have speculated about, and it's too early to talk about this right now, but we'll postulate on it here on the show. His brother, Kaden, freshman at Penn State, so just 1 year ahead of him in school. How are they so cool? Well, Dylan is very young for this class. But Kaden is averaging 13.9 points right now at Penn State. He's their second leading scorer. He's leading the Big Ten in steals as a freshman with 2.2 steals, and he leads Penn State with assists 4.2. Carolina projects to not necessarily need a ton of guard help, but I'll take two Mingos, like, why not? Let's fill it up and make it happen. So I just, That's something to keep an eye on. Will Kaden want to stay at Penn State, or might they want to team up and him come to Chapel Hill? That's just, again, something to keep a little bit of an eye on as we get towards portal season. So a couple things that really, really help here with with Dylan coming to North Carolina. In particular, one, again, we talked about he wanted to win. Carolina's having success on the floor this year. They just beat Duke, and they've beat Kansas, they beat Kentucky, had some other nice wins. Yes, right now they had just lost to Miami. Caleb's banged up, all of that, but that the success on the floor is enough. The stability of Hubert Davis, despite what a lot of people want to hot seat and all that. No, Hubert Davis is locked in. They're not going anywhere with that. And so that helps Dylan Mingo's commitment. And secondly, is the success that Caleb Wilson has had this year. What do 5-star elite guards want to see? They want to see other players who are similar to them, who have, and I know they're not, obviously Caleb is a power forward, Dylan is a point guard, a guard. They play different positions, but what these elite guys want to see is, can this coaching staff develop me, and how are they doing that for other elite players? If you see that represented, then it's like, all right, I feel comfortable going to play for that coaching staff. Who, oh, by the way, as a point guard, you've got Hubert Davis, one of the most successful three-point shooters in NBA history. You've got Marcus Page, who is phenomenal. You got Jeff Lebo, who is a great shooter in his own right. So you've got all of these guard coaches that can help in a big way. And so both the success on the floor and Caleb's success are two big reasons that Dylan ultimately commits to North Carolina, and that's great. One of the things he said to On3 is he said, quote, "I chose UNC because it felt like a family environment, from the players to the fans to the coaches. I felt like the UNC history and everyone who played there is huge. Knowing their will to win is always at the highest level. I would love to be a part of that." There you go. There you go. In a day and age where everybody says hey, money talks and that's the only thing that matters, clearly that's not true for Dylan, right? He's saying I see everything that the University of North Carolina has been, and I want and hopefully can continue to be, and I want to be part of that. And so that's great news for the Tar Heels on that front. And I'm really encouraged by it that he sees that history. He wants to lean into it and be part of it. Obviously, Coach Davis, I know lots of coaches around the country work to get a family atmosphere, but man, Hubert Davis does that at a level that, for my money's worth, other coaches aren't doing at the same level that Hubert Davis is creating that community. And so that's really good. So all that said, you see, actually, you know what? I want to save that. I want to talk about the anti-Hubert Davis sentiments and how the way Carolina is roster constructing, I think, is actually smarter than just loading up on 87 5-star freshmen. I'll explain what I mean coming up, and we'll talk more about how he fits with next year's potential roster. All of that coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to the score than what's on screen. The moving the game forward moment right now, Dylan Mingo becoming the next commit at the University of North Carolina. He's helping Carolina's success in the future be in really, really good shape. And so Dylan Mingo, come on down. You're the man. It's moments like these, getting commitments of this level, that remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and that I never quit mentality. Mazda, what they do is they work to put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel, but what it took to get there is what makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Okay. There's often a lot of anti-Hubert Davis sentiment. Oh, they can't win at a consistent level. And then, that one's a little bit more fair. The Carolina's been up and down, and you're looking for more longevity in terms of success. But man, there was no room to talk about Hubert Davis, the recruiter, because from Caleb Wilson to beating Kentucky for Ian Jackson to now Dylan Mingo, they're getting dudes. And in this day and age, I know there's always this, but Duke has 4 or 5 stars. I don't want that. I do not want that. I want a smattering, if I can use that word, of a few elite freshmen, some that might stay around a little bit longer. Hello, Derek Dixon. Hello, Isaiah Dennis. And then I want to mix in, hopefully, more returners than Carolina had this year. And I also want to mix in more guys from the transfer portal. And you need to get a couple of those to see if it's going to fit, right? Like some of that's worked this year, Henry Vasar. Some of it hasn't, Kyan Evans, right? Like, and you see that. And some of it, and now the international recruiting as well. And so I don't want to put all my eggs in the elite freshman basket, but getting one, maybe two, like a Caleb Wilson, like a Dylan Mingo, like an Ian Jackson, and then supplementing it with other stuff. I like that version of roster construction better than saying, give me 4 of these young guys and let's see if they can do it at the ACC level. And so I love the way Carolina is approaching this. And anyone who might say, oh, Hubert Davis can't recruit, he can't get it done. The track record's there, man. It truly is. That's at least 3 straight years of getting an elite 5-star, at least one of them. You got nothing else to say. Now, one of the things about Dylan Mingo right now is he's working his way back from injury. Had a high ankle sprain he had dealt with. If I remember correctly, he's been like late January, he started playing again. And so there is some of that as well. What does Dylan Mingo do? That's a great question. One of the great things that I love is he's a big guard, 6'5". He's got a great frame. He projects out well. I think it's the kind of thing, where Caleb Wilson, some 5-stars are ready right now to just go bonkers. I think Dylan Mingo is somewhere in between that and like a development freshman. I think it's the kind of thing where he's going to be phenomenal next year, but there's also like his 3rd year in the NBA is where he's going to be like, I'm the dude. I think he's a one and done. Absolutely. And averages, like his numbers are crazy. It's like plus 20 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, all of that kind of thing. He's so good. What I love is that he's got a good projectable NBA frame and body. He attacks. He can get downhill. He's going to get to the free throw line, just force dudes to make business decisions, that kind of thing. But also, he's a great processor. He knows when to call his own number. He can get the ball out to others, whether it's the actual assist or the hockey assist. That's going to happen. I think there's some underrated defensive capability that he has, both because of his athlete. Like when we talk about Derek Dixon, he's not uber athlete like a Seth Trimble or a Caleb Wilson. Remains to be seen if Dylan is up to like a Seth Caleb level, but I do believe he is a higher level athlete than Dixon is, for example. And so there's a lot of good defensive length and capability there. Can guard essentially 1 through 3 because of his size, man. He can just be an absolute menace to those 6'1", 6'2" guards. And so I love to see Hubert Davis recruiting bigger guards, right? Like that's what Carolina, you look at what Duke has been doing, just getting massive at every position. That's what I love to see Coach Davis doing, is using size to his advantage. And so now that that's become a thing for Carolina, more big guards, more big wings, more big bigs are going to want to come to Chapel Hill, and that's great. One area of improvement is some 3-point shooting. He can do it, but he's not sniper guy, right? Like that's not what right now Dylan Mingo is great at. Another question I do want to ask and look at is, how does he fit with potential roster for next year? And so what I'm going to do, for those of you who are always with us, you know that I make scholarship charts. And so I'm going to pull it up here. By the way, you can access this at all times if you are one of our part of our everydayer club. It's in our Locked on Tar Heels insider Google Drive folder. And so you can get it there. So as you look ahead to next year's scholarship availability, one thing to keep in mind, everybody gets a scholarship now. They're like, that's part of the deal. So now my scholarship chart is more like scholarship level players chart. That's what we're looking at here. So as you look at who can't come back, literally Seth Trimble is the only one that's out of eligibility in terms of scholarship level players. Everyone else can be back. You've got Bogovats, Kyan Evans, Zayden High, Jaron Stevenson, Jaden Young, Henry Vasar, upcoming juniors, James Brown, Ivan Matlekovich, Jonathan Powell, rising sophomores, Isaiah Dennis, Derek Dixon, Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson's going to be gone, right? Like I will not even entertain anybody saying, I don't know, NIL, Mike Caleb Wilson is gone. He's a top 5 pick. Let's not try to be silly with this. Like, don't even pretend like that's a thing. there's a very real world in which Henry Vasar is also gone. He's worked his way back into like the back end of the first round at most mock drafts that I've seen recently. We're going to see health-wise, is he able to go tonight at NC State? How and when is he able to get back, and what does he look like? I think it's important for him to play well without Caleb Wilson. How does he look, when it's him? That'll be really interesting to see. Ultimately, I would imagine Henry Vasar is gone. So when you look at the construction of next year's roster, it looks like the backcourt is in better shape than the front court right now. You've also got Maximo Adams coming in. He's the other commit in this class right now. Not as highly ranked as Wilson was last year coming in as a front court player. I think he's going to be able to play right away, though. Adams will be, and be able to contribute, and Carolina is going to need him to. I would imagine Carolina will bring in others in the front court as well, and obviously the Henry Vasar decision is huge in how this ultimately plays out. You might look at the backcourt and say, Isaac, Carolina's already got their point guard for next year, and his name's Derek Dixon. This is where I remind you that Hubert Davis that ain't a word, regularly discusses how much he likes to have two guard lineups playing at any one time. And the nice thing is if you get the right guards, they can coexist and play together. And that's where you love having Derek Dixon and Dylan Mingo. Why? Because both of these guys can play on the ball. Both of these guys can shift over to the two and play off the ball. And so they can coexist in a big time way. And also when I say big time way, keep in mind, not only is Dylan Mingo 6'5", Derek Dixon is 6'5". So projection for next year, Carolina's starting backcourt is 6'5". My guess is that Kyan Evans is probably going to see the writing on the wall and leave after this year, enter the transfer portal, go somewhere else, maybe a little bit more fitting. That was a miss. But I think Luka Bogovac is probably back next year. We'll see what happens down the stretch here and just what his intentions are, right? Who knows? He might have thought, I'm going to go to an American college for 1 year, and then regardless of what happens, I'm out. If so, so be it. But I would imagine Bogovac is back next year. I would imagine Jonathan Powell is back next year. There's a lot he can add. Jaden Young has more eligibility. So Carolina, Isaiah Dennis, hopefully fully healthy, and then has a whole offseason to work his way in. I think that's a big part of the reason I'm getting questions all the time about why isn't Isaiah Dennis playing? For my money's worth, it's because he's kind of been behind the 8 ball. He didn't have a full offseason to get healthy and ready to go. And so it's just like he's not been able to work his way into the rotation because of that. But man, you got all of that. And I think Carolina is kind of set at guard, at least at 1 and 2, and we'll see who they would roll with at 3. Jaron Stevenson has another year of eligibility. So depending on who else you get in the transfer portal, whether Henry Vasar comes back or not, I would imagine Stevenson is your starting 3 or 4 next year. So there's a lot of backcourt depth and capability. And obviously, as I was saying earlier, will Kaden Mingo leave Penn State? And if so, will he come to Carolina? That's just something to keep our eyes on as well. So I am very, very pleased with this news with Dylan Mingo coming to North Carolina. It's great, and we should be very excited about this. So you guys, great news for Carolina on this day ahead of going to play at NC State. Maybe this will spur the Tar Heels on to victory tonight. We're still waiting to see, obviously, if Henry Vasar will be a go or not. We will be live after the game this evening, a little bit later than usual. I've got to lead worship, actually, for an event at the school I work at. And so that'll be the same time as the game. So after I'm able to get finished with that and get home, we'll get this thing cranked up and we'll unpack it. Hopefully a party and not a therapy session. All right, you guys, thanks so much for being with me. Again, great news for the Tar Heels. Dylan Mingo coming to Chapel Hill. This is incredible. Hubert Davis just continuing to get these elite 5-star dudes. You love to see it. If you haven't subscribed to the show already on video and audio, do it right now so you don't miss a second of Locked On Tar Heels. If you haven't joined our Everydayer Club or our Discord, those links are both in the show notes. We'd love to see you there as well. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel, and you know who else is a Tar Heel now? His name is Dylan Mingo. We'll talk to you tonight after the game, but until then, peace.